This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to another edition of the Movie Review of the Day here on the Pop Experience. I am Steve Riddle, back again for another go-round, and today we are concluding our theme week this week, where we are looking at all things Toy Story. Of course, the new Toy Story will be coming out this June. If you're listening to this pod on the day it drops, which is on Friday the 12th, I believe it is actually the week after that comes out. Yes, June 19th, the film will come out. So, you know that when it does, one of us here will cover it at some point. But like I said, this whole week we've been talking everything in the Toy Story franchise. We've discussed Toy Stories 1 through 4, and now we are concluding this week with the most recent edition in the franchise, not counting Toy Story 5, of course. It is the spin-off of Toy Story, and one that's well, it's definitely something. We'll talk about it here. But, of course, the film I'm doing for you today is Lightyear. This was released on June 17th, 2022. Budget of $200 million, box office $226.4. So that is considered it was considered a loser, a box office loser in terms of money made. Starring Chris Evans, Keke Palmer, Peter Sohn, Taika Waititi, Dale Souls, James Brolin, and Uzo Aduba. It is basically a film within a film based on the character of Buzz Lightyear as he and a Star Command expedition crash on an uninhabited planet, and Buzz spends the next several years trying to achieve hyperspace so that he can get he and the colonists back home. And throughout that time, he ends up going forward in time repeatedly, and misses out on everything, and starts missing out on things that occur during these time loops or time jumps, as it were. Excuse me. So, like I normally do, I will go ahead and do start off here with the 3 things that worked and 3 things that didn't work. So, 3 things that worked. Number 1. They were really smart to, at the very, very beginning, basically say that this is basically announced that this is a film within a film. They do reference, of course, the fact that, Andy got a Buzz Lightyear for his birthday. They even say 1995, so, of course, referencing the year that the first Toy Story came out. He said it was based off they did say it was based off Andy's favorite movie, which is the movie we're about to watch here. So, even though it is still in the Toy Story universe, nothing from the Toy Story franchise besides Buzz is what we see in here. And for those that actually don't remember, in 2000, there was a direct-to-video film called Buzz Lightyear Star Command, The Adventure Begins, which then led into the TV series Buzz Lightyear Star Command, which lasted for about a year. So again, that was kind of a universe within the universe. Now, the only difference, of course, is in those, Tim Allen was still Buzz Lightyear, but here, of course, it is Chris Evans. But again, I think it was a smart move to kind of let everyone know right off the bat that this is basically a film within a film. So if you're going in looking for any Toy Story nods or whatever, you're not going to get it. And to kind of temper people's expectations right off the bat, which I think going into the film, most people knew it was not going to be just another Toy Story film. It was going to be a film within the set within the universe of Toy Story. So, so I don't think people went into this thinking that they were going to see like Woody and all those other, the other toys. They knew this was basically a Buzz Lightyear film. So, again, kudos to Pixar for doing that. Number 2. It is a kind of not overused, but used trope in, films like this where you got the misfits who come together and do great things. And we see, after Buzz achieves hyperspace and comes back 22 years later, because they do mention in the film that every time he goes to hyperspace, at the least he loses he advances in time 4 years, but he doesn't, but for him, 4 minutes is 4 years for everybody else, in essence. So he comes back 22 years later. So this is where he meets, Izzy, Mo, and Darby, and they're, obviously not the the usual cadets Buzz is used to working with, but he learns to accept them and to bond with them, and they learn that they are more than what they think they are. Particularly Izzy, who's of course the granddaughter of Buzz's original partner Alicia, and for her to basically step up and be Buzz's new partner in essence. I think that whole storyline was really well done because one of the big things for Izzy is that she's afraid to go to space, and she conquers that fear because she wants to help Buzz when he's being attacked by Zurg. So again, I think they do a really good job making those three misfits turn them into a credible fighting force. And, it's again one of those things that, even though it's used all the time in film, when done properly, it's, obviously very well done. And I think that it was well done here in this film. So I will definitely give him a lot of credit for that. And number 3, Buzz. You can definitely see the parallels between Buzz here in the film and Buzz in the original, in the original Toy Story, where in that film, he still thinks he's a space ranger. He thinks he's on this big mission, and eventually, thanks to Woody and some other circumstances, he comes to accept that he is a toy. Whereas in the film here, Buzz is all about completing his mission, which is to get the people, his people home from this planet they land on, which is called I don't know if they ever say it in the actual film. I'd have to double check, but it's called Takani Prime. And we kind of see that his in trying to complete this mission, he keeps jumping ahead, as we see, he jumps ahead in time, numerous years, and he misses out on a lot of things. Like he sees Alicia get married, they have a son, eventually she gets a granddaughter. And he misses out on a lot of things, and he's just so committed to completing the mission and also doing it by himself, particularly when he has, when he only has Izzy, Mo, and Darby to help him. He's just so dead set in his ways. It's not until he sees Zurg and finds out who he really is, which I'll talk about here in a minute. But then he kind of realizes, it's not the way I want, that I want to be, and he eventually kind of lets his guard down almost, and lets Izzy in, and lets lets Mo and Darby in, and kind of realizes that he needs them to move forward. And he realizes that at that point that there's no reason to complete the mission anymore. It's just about living, going, where everything is fine the way it is. So that inner journey for him, I think, was actually, again, really really well done throughout the course of the film. So again, I will definitely give him that. And now to the 3 things that didn't work. Number 1, and this is not so much the film's fault, just the fact that what was going on in the world. So this was the first Pixar film to be released in theaters since Onward from March 2020, which of course, for those that remember, was when the COVID pandemic started. So for the longest time, we were without. We had 3 films between Onward and Lightyear come out: Soul, Luca, and Turning Red, which all came out on Disney Plus and never got actual theatrical releases. So this was the first one to get a theatrical release since the pandemic kind of ended and slowed down. And you can tell, even though it was 2022, and by that point, I think people were starting to get back into normal, it did kind of hurt it. Hurt its overall value, overall numbers. Plus, I think because even though it was about a Toy Story character, I think there were some people that thought maybe it was, again, unnecessary. After how particularly after what Toy Story 4 was, So I think that kind of just hurt its overall bottom line, and that's why it ended up being it did end up being a bomb ultimately in the box office. And plus, at that time, Disney was getting a lot of flack because of some of the decisions they were making in regards to certain characters. In particular, the fact that Alicia here in the film was basically an out lesbian with a wife. I remember that got a lot of consternation from people. Which, I mean, which I could see some people's point of view with it. It didn't bother me because I just don't care personally. It just didn't mean that care that much to me. But I know some people were not too happy about it. And I think that also definitely hurt as well. So, again, just kind of some, external forces preventing this film from doing what it potentially could have done had it come out maybe when there was none of that was going on. So, number 2, the reveal of Zurg being an older version of Buzz from an alternate timeline was definitely kind of confusing because, again, this plays in the whole, the rules of time travel is if do you want doesn't seeing your future or your past self cause some weird time paradox or something. So, and it's clear this is also where our main Buzz kind of realizes what he's becoming when we find out that the Zurg Buzz basically has come back in time to complete the mission basically and set go back in time further and kind of, set things back to where they can leave the planet or not go to the planet the first time. But then that's when Buzz kind of realizes that that's going to, that's going to erase everything that happened, which the Zurg Buzz doesn't really doesn't care about. But again, it's just one of those if it's supposed to be if he's supposed to be from an alternate timeline, how is that going to affect this? How does that affect this timeline? Again, just kind of really confusing, and just one of those things where it's they didn't really do a good job explaining it as much. So, so I will say that. And then number 3, could this maybe have just been a regular Disney Plus release? Maybe, and maybe that kind of goes into my first point, but maybe, instead of doing another film, maybe this could have worked better as a limited TV series, kind of similar to Buzz Lightyear Star Command from 2000. Maybe that could have, helped gain some, more viewers or whatever. I don't know. It's just one of those. It's one of those weird films that came out that, we're kind of in the middle of, we're coming off Toy Story 4, which still did very well, though some people question if we really needed it. And now we've got Toy Story 5 on the way, which again, some people are questioning if we really need that film. So it was just one of those weird things where it's just, almost kind of wrong place, wrong time for the film. That's basically the best way I can put it. But now we'll go ahead and get to our awards here. My MVP of the film, excuse me, I actually am going to go with... I'm going with Peter Sohn, who plays Socks, who's the robotic cat that is Buzz's companion. I thought he brought a lot of good levity to the film, and he's one of those characters that could have gotten annoying really quick, but he actually kind of towed that line really well of not being overbearing and being a really good sidekick. So I will say that, and also I have to say he was my favorite character as well. I do want to give a shout out to Darby as well. I thought as a sassy elderly woman who doesn't take excuse me, who doesn't take crap from anybody. I thought she was a really good character too. Least favorite character would have to be Zurg Buzz, again, because it's just you don't really get what his mission doesn't really make sense. Again, it's kind of weird that he's part of supposedly from an alternate timeline, yet he's infringing on this timeline. And this is again where Buzz kind of realizes he doesn't want to go down that same pathway, so that's why he takes a different path going forward. So, but yeah, that's just again for me, the Zurg was my least favorite character. My favorite scene, I think, would have to be the last time that Buzz leaves, or Buzz returns from cyberspace, and this is where Alicia has finally passed away during the time frame that he was gone, and he gets that little holographic message from her, where she basically uses that to say goodbye to him. Because you can see the two of them really had a really close relationship, particularly as Buzz is going through these doing these hyperspace tests and keeps losing time, and he's seeing like what Alicia's going through. Alicia's she's living her life in essence. She's got her wife, she's pregnant, she has her son, has a granddaughter, and she's basically had a fulfilled long life, whereas Buzz is working on trying to make what he thinks is trying to make things right, and then he kind of realizes eventually that I don't want this stuff to change, because I don't want any of this to go away. So but that moment there where he sees the hologram of her as she's on her deathbed, I thought again was a really, really good scene, and kind of again points to the how much she meant to him, and what she how close she was to him in essence. So and then for my final overall grade, I mentioned when I did Toy Story 3 earlier in the week that this was definitely not going to be a 10 out of 10 like that film was, but it's not going to be a bad grade either. Like, I remember when I watched it the first time in theaters, I thought it was okay, but just not really, not good, but not not that great, but not terrible either. And now watching it again, I think with a kind of little fresher set of eyes, it's not a bad film. It's not, and does it kind of wreck some of the momentum we had with the Toy Story franchise a little bit, but not too much. So I'm actually going to go. I'm going to go 6 out of 10. Again, there was some good parts in there. Again, wasn't a necessary film in the end. Same way we could say, was Toy Story 4 necessary? Is Toy Story 5 necessary? Again, it's, but unlike, this film, I mean, Toy Story 4 did really, really well, and I'm, again, fairly sure Toy Story 5 is going to do pretty well, too. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, 6 out of 10. And we'll see again how Toy Story 5 ends up. And like I said earlier in the week, one of us here on this pod will cover that film. We'll cover the film after it comes out. So be on the lookout for that. And with that, I will say thank you again for listening. Thank you for continuing to support us. Continue to follow on with this pod, as well as all of our other pods on this feed and our other feeds. And also, as I'll keep talking about, on the PTB Facebook group, our greatest SummerSlam match of all time tournament is going on. Get in there and vote if you have it. There's some good matchups coming as we are getting close to the end of the play-in round and then getting to the bracket rounds. So I'm excited for that when we get to there. So, well, with that, I am Steve Riddle. This has been the movie review of the day here on the Pop Experience, and we'll see you next time.